Okay, here we go. All right, so like I said, I made up a review really quick of what the question's going to look like on Delta Math. So I want to go over these with you right now, and you'll have the rest of the period to work on your review. Everybody has finished it in class with plenty of time to spare. So please don't be looking at your Chromebook right now. Please be looking up here, and let's go over this together so I can hopefully eliminate a lot of questions all at once. All right, so your quiz. Let me bring up the first question. All right, look at this question. If they asked you, good morning, Brendan, or afternoon, thank you, just have a seat. We're going over, you just have to watch. All you have to do is watch this right now. All right, let's say they asked you, determine whether the following graph represents a function. What would your answer to that question be? Yes or no? Why do you say yes? What is telling you that this is yes, it's a function? Nothing's over top, right? Nothing's over and under. Does this pass the vertical line test? Yeah, guys, if I draw a vertical line, let's say right there, that means when -4 goes in, only how many y values come out for it? 1. If I draw a vertical line right here, if I said, hey, when -8 goes in, how many answers to that question are there? Just 1. It's when the graph kind of goes underneath itself and it wouldn't pass the vertical line test. Then it would be a no. But this is definitely a function because I can draw a vertical line anywhere over it and it's showing that it only touches at one point at a time. All of these vertical lines are proving to you that the x's didn't repeat. That when an x value went in, only one number came out. Perfect. All right. So that would be, I believe, you just have to click at the bottom of the screen. Yes, just a function. You would click function and move on to the next question. All right. Is that a function? How do you know right now that is not the graph of a function? It doesn't pass the vertical line test. Guys, if I draw a vertical line right here, if I said, hey, when 4 goes in, who comes out as y? How many answers to that question are there? 2. This y value could come out like, what is it, about -1.5? And then this y value could come out, about -2.5. There's too many answers to that question. This don't pass the vertical line test. That would be a no. All right, perfect. So those are going to be quiz questions tomorrow. What about this? It says, which set of ordered pairs represents a function? Can somebody tell me how you want to tackle this? How can you look at ordered pairs and know which ones represent a function, Cole? What's that?
What's the first number?
The first number. Who's the first number?
Oh.
Which coordinate? X.
Oh.
Do you want X to repeat? No, as long as X does not repeat, that ordered pair is a function. So guys, look at this list. We're looking for the one that is a function. That means 3 of them are not and 1 of them is. So look here. This says when 9 goes in, 1 comes out. When -6 goes in, 3 comes out. When 0 goes in, -4 comes out. So far, so good. Only one story is being told. Uh-oh. This one says when 9 goes back in, who comes out this time? Is that a function? If 9 can make 2 different numbers come out? No. So he's telling too many stories. That's not a function. All right, look at the next ones. -4. I'm just going to look at the x's. -4, 6, 6. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. 6 goes into this function. Who comes out? 6 goes back in. Who comes out this time? That's no function. Too many stories are being told. All right, look at the next one. 4, 0, 3, -5. Guys, 4 different ordered pairs. Did any of the x's repeat? That means each one of them is telling a different story. Is that good for us? Is that a function? Yeah. So it's looking like this guy. He's going to be our function. And then if you just want to double check, -1, 9, 2, 9. Guys, what 2 different numbers can 9 make come out? 2. That's too much. He's telling too many stories. That's not a function. So the one that is a function is this one. Now, I'm not going to do it, but I've seen this question asked the reverse way. I've seen them ask you which set of ordered pairs does not represent a function, which means 3 of them will be functions and 1 of them won't be functions. So please make sure you read the directions carefully. Are you looking for the function or are you looking for the one that is not a function? Then you'd be looking for the one whose x's did repeat. All right, are we okay with a question like that? Because you're 2 questions in and you haven't done any math yet. All right, what about this? Everybody's favorite, domain and range. They're either going to ask you the domain or they're going to ask you the range, but they're not going to ask you both for the same graph. This one says, determine the domain of the following graph. Domain are which values? X's. And how do X's go on a graph? Chris? Oh, you do? Okay. X or Y. X's go left or right. So you are looking for the leftmost spot on this graph. What's the farthest left this graph went? What X value? Close, -6. Then you're going all the way to the right. And guys, it's not necessarily dot to dot. It's just wherever the graph touched. What's the farthest right this graph ever went to what X value? 2. So now could you sit here and possibly list all of these X values that live on this line? No. So how do you write this domain? As a? Yeah. What do we call that? Anybody hungry? Sandwich inequality. So who's the little guy? Always a what symbol? And then who are we talking about? X or Y? X always a less than who's the big number? 2. Now you got to go back and decide, do you want lines underneath these symbols? Guys, the only time you do not want a line is when there's an open circle. So as long as there is a filled in circle, and there was at -6, so we include him, and there was a closed circle at 2, so we include him. And as long as it's on the line, the only time you don't put a line under it is when the circle is open. If it's filled in or literally just following that line, if it's like right there, that would be included because it's on the line. It's an included point. The only time you wouldn't is if they gave you an open circle. Then you would just put less than and less than, depending on who had the open circle. Okay? All right, perfect. Let's look at the next question. You would just type that in at the bottom and hit enter. They give you your symbols for you. I am toying with the idea of giving you 2 chances on these questions. God forbid you mess up like an open, closed circle, okay? All right, what about this? Still haven't done any math yet, you're just reading the graph. This one says the graph of y equals f of x is shown. So guys, this is function f. When you plug an x value into it, some y value comes out. That's what y equals f of x says. Determine the value of x. So your answer is an x. It is an x coordinate. Paul, you better take your hands off that keyboard. All right? It says determine the value of x. So your answer is an x value. Some x coordinate on the x-axis is our answer. When f of x equals 3. Guys, somebody went to function f, plugged a number in for x, and they got 3 to come out as who? Who is f of x talking about as a whole? Y. They're telling you the y coordinate is 3. Somebody give me a direction where a y coordinate would be 3. Up, down, right, or left? Up 3. This is where y is 3. Now find me the point that has a y coordinate of 3. Who has a y coordinate of 3? D. So when 3 came out, who went in? Who was the x coordinate of that point? -3 is the answer. And you would plug that as your answer and hit enter. Okay? What about this one? All right, they've given you the graph of a function. We all know that's a function. He passes the VLT. This is the graph of y equals f of x. They asked you to find f of -6. Who's -6? Who does he represent?
Y.
Nope. BB3. Can I hold on to her for about 5 more minutes? Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay. Guys, function f, who goes in? X. So whoever is in the parentheses represents who? But it represents who? Whoever is in here takes your x's place, and then y comes out. So when they ask you to find f of -6, go to function f and let who be -6? X. So go on your x-axis, right? That's where x's are, left and right, and go to where x is -6. It's right there. Find me a point on this graph that had an x coordinate of -6. Well, guys, I can't go down because the graph isn't existing where x is -6 down here. But if I go up, when x is -6, this point is on the graph. So when -6 goes in, what y coordinate comes out? So f of -6 is equal to who? 6 is your answer. So you really have to know the difference between who's an input, who's x, and who's an output y. Guys, whoever they put in the parentheses is x. That is your input. That is your x value going into the function. All right, look at this one. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not skipping anything. I'm just going through. Yep, we're covered. Okay. All right, look at this question. Here's the graph of a new function, right? We know it's a function that passes the VLT. Find all values of x. So yet again, your answer are x's. Some number on this x-axis is your answer. Number or numbers. Find all values of x where f of x equals 0. So guys, when they talk about f of x as a whole, who are they talking about? Y. This is function f. Somebody went to it. They plugged some number in for x, and they got a 0 to come out as y. This is telling you y equals 0. So where does y equal 0? Yeah, Chris? No, just where on the graph does it equal 0? Right smack at the origin, right? Right here. Guys, this is where y is 0. So all right here, if I go left or right, all of these x values that live on the x-axis have a y value of 0. So now find me the points on the graph that had a y coordinate of 0. Well, this one has a y coordinate of 0. And who did you say was the x, Chris? Oh, this one. 1. And then over here, does this point have a y coordinate of 0? And who's his x coordinate? -3. So your answer would be when x is -3 and when x is +1, you have to put them in their own answer boxes. They are the x values that make a y coordinate of 0 come out. All right, look at this one. New function. Because you haven't done any math yet. You have not had to literally do a lick of calculating yet. Here's another function, y equals f of x. Find the value of, I don't want to do a value one. All right, we're here anyway. Find the value of f of 5. You're going to function f. Who you plugging in? Belle, who are we plugging in? 5. For who? X. X, right? It didn't hurt you to say it. You knew it. So x is 5. So go to where x is 5. Guys, x is 5 right there. Find me a point on that graph that has an x coordinate of 5. Looks like it's right there. So when 5 goes in, what y value does it shoot out? Who said that? Was it you, Belle? 5. 5 would be the answer. I wanted to do another output once, but since we were there. Oh, I like it. Okay. New function. Find all values of x. So your answer are x coordinates, where f of x equals 4. Guys, when they talk about f of x as a whole, who is he? Everybody. Y. So y is 4. So where would y be 4? Up, down, right, or left? Steven? Oh, yes, thank you. Up 4. So right here, this is where the y coordinate is 4. Find me points on this graph that have a y coordinate of 4. Does he have a y coordinate of 4? Who's his x value? 4, so 4 is an answer. And then does this point have an x coordinate of 4? So, oh, I'm sorry, I say this point has a y coordinate of 4. What's his x coordinate? 6. So 4 and 6 are the x values that you could plug into this function to make a y coordinate of 4 come out. Perfect. All right, we're almost there. I think we gotta do math now. Yep, all right, here we go. All right, they've given you a function. But guys, this time, they have not given you the function as a graph. They have given them to you as a written rule, as an equation that everything has to follow. So this is function f. When you plug an x value into it, this is what will happen to that x value. That's what would live inside of that machine as its written rule. So guys, if they ask you to find f of -7, what are they asking you to do? Go ahead, Cole. Put it in for the x, right? This means go to function f and let x be -7. It's like giving you directions in math talk. Go to function f and plug -7 in for x. So start rewriting this rule using -7 for x. So guys, that negative is part of the function. Then we plug in -7 and we square it. Then we -10 and we times it by -7. I have said this over and over again. If you plug that into your calculator and hit enter, just the entire thing for you. However, I still think that if you are on an Accuplacer test, it wouldn't give you a calculator for that, so you should know how to do it. So on the quiz, I would plug it into my calculator just to make sure you're right. But guys, we got this. PEMDAS says to do parentheses first. But these are not grouping parentheses. They are multiplicative parentheses. And we don't multiply yet. He's kind of in the middle of the PEMDAS food chain. So there's no parentheses. Then we do exponents. So guys, the exponent is on this. What's negative 7 squared? 49, yes. And then 49 times that negative 1 gets you what? Negative 49. And then we multiply. What's negative 10 times negative 7? Positive 70. And then all you have to do is negative 49 plus 70, which is going to be positive 21. Did you say 21? Beautiful. So 21 would be your answer. Okay? All right, one last question. So remember, if they put it inside the parentheses, that's an input. That's an X value. Plug it in. What if they give you this? All right, last one. They've given you a new function. This is function f. When you plug an X value into it, this is the written rule. This is what will happen to that X value. They want you to solve for X. So guys, your answer is going to be what that number was. They're not giving it to you. They're asking you to solve for X when f of X equaled negative 4. So guys, this means somebody went to function f, plugged a number in for X. We don't know who, but who did they get to come out? Negative 4. So he's your output. He is not your input. You cannot plug him in for X. They didn't put him here. That's where the input would be. We have to figure out what made this rule spit out that number. So all you have to do is figure out, when does this equal that? When is this going to spit that out as an answer? So when does negative 3x plus 5 equal negative 4? What are you doing first to solve? Minus 5. Now we get negative 3x equals negative 9. What's the only thing you have left to do? And who is x? Everybody? 3. That means 3 had to go into this function to make a negative 4 come out. So you would put 3 and hit enter. Guys, that is all the quiz questions I could possibly ask you. So I have made you up a review. And it is 21 questions long because some of them are extremely fast. Only the last 2 problems require work. Everything else is just you looking at the graph and either putting in an X and getting out a Y or vice versa. The quiz tomorrow is 25 questions. All right, so you have a review to work on now on every possible topic. Everybody so far has finished it in class with time to spare. It's a lot quicker than 21 questions sound. All right, so start working. Hopefully you haven't already, but start working and guys, ask me 1,000 questions. Let me help you if something is confusing you. Because this will be the last quiz on marking period 1, and I'd love to see you get a great grade to kind of finish out the marking period. All right. Say it once again, Brendan. Yeah, you can borrow mine. Oh, yeah. There you go. Oh, and guys, really quick, I'm going to have to post this warm-up on deltamath just so I can save it for later. I'm literally titling it, Do Not Do. You do not have to do it if it appears on your deltamath list of assignments, all right? So please don't freak out. We've already done it together. I just have to post it to save it. But I'm literally putting it, Do Not Do. So you'll know, don't worry about it. Yes, you can.